So, Noah Webster Educational Foundation is a nonprofit foundation. We work to improve education through responsible leadership, core principles and best practices, and by engaging parents, educators, and legislators to bring solutions in education. We focus on the roles of instruction, parents, government, faith and morality, and facilities. Today, I'd like us to zero in on the role of government in education. So, Senator, for listeners who are not well informed on how state government works, could you give us a quick overview of how it works in Virginia, maybe particularly focusing on the roles of the two houses of the state legislature, how they interact, how they work with the executive branch to govern the Commonwealth?
Well, it's a good question. It's a big question. So maybe the best place to start is in the foundational documents, which is, of course, our Constitution. Unlike some states' Constitution, our Constitution is very prescriptive in many ways, but it's very prescriptive on education. And it talks about the requirement that we have a free and public and quality education. It also lays out the foundational mechanisms on how it's to operate. So in Virginia, we obviously have the executive side and we have the legislative side, but then we have this operation of the state school board, which is appointed by the governor, and they make a lot of the policy. It doesn't in any way usurp the legislative opportunity to set policy around their decision, but many times you'll end up with them doing the strategic type work, and the legislature really working on the higher level items. So within the legislature, we are very much segmented into the committee and subcommittee structure. In the state Senate, I was the chairman of the Education Committee for many, many, many years. I also appointed the subcommittee chairman in that role. And we had a subcommittee chairman that had K through 12, and that was really their focus. I sent most of the bills to that subcommittee. They worked out the technical items. There was a subcommittee report given back to the committee, and then we would vote on those items. The House of Delegates is set up in a similar fashion. The House of Delegates does have the ability to actually kill bills in subcommittee, and they do not require actually to have a full hearing on the bills. The Senate of Virginia does go through that process. We generally work fairly closely with the administration in that committee. So you'll have the Secretary of Education, you'll have Chev and others that represent really education in general that work with us. That doesn't mean we agree. What it means is we work with a flow of data and a flow of information that allows us to get to the end product. So that has been successful right up until the conservative side kind of lost the majority. It, I think, was very successful in promoting a good quality education, and we had a number of stopgaps in there to make sure that we actually did that. The last couple of years, the Virginia Education Association, which is an outside group that represents some teachers, not all teachers, has had extraordinary influence the last couple of years, and they have really pushed for a complete elimination of the core subject, math, history, science, and English. And they've moved more toward the soft subjects, which they are calling the 5 C's. Those have very little to do with education. They have things to do with social items, and they have also pushed other items we can talk more about. So in the past, that relationship has worked very well. When I was chairman, I think we had a solid relationship that allowed this to continue moving forward. So that's the overall structure. The school board, of course, is appointed by the governor. And depending on who the governor is, you can have very strong conservative members or those that are not so conservative members, and they will set a lot of the day-to-day policy.
Interesting. Well, that's very insightful. Thank you for laying that out for us this morning. For all of our listeners, it just helps bring perspective in how government works in in the halls, so to speak, and in coming to decisions and so forth. So again, I'm so thankful to have you with us because of your vast experience working in the field of education as a state senator.